We understand the law, but when it comes to tribal governments, our responsibility is to our members, and to try to take care of the many which are take care of what end up to be a lot of shortfalls on behalf of the United States government's treaty obligation to tribes. We're providing that service to our members. Now, the government has fallen short on those obligations, which they are obligated to by law, by treaty, by the law of the land. And here we are, we're trying to fill those gaps, and then they want to tax us on top of that, and they want to try to tax those services to our elders and services to our community. That's just not right.
Hello, I'm Kimberlie Acosta, and welcome to Indian Country TV. I'm here today with Ernie Stevens Jr. He's the chairman of the National Indian Gaming Association, and you just won re-election. Heard that online.
Yes, it was Tuesday of last week, or not sure what day it is, but been on the road ever since, and well before then. So I have a fresh 2-year term to work in Washington, D.C., representing 184 tribes, and we're pretty excited about that.
How many years have you been the chairman?
12 years. This week is my 13th, starting my 13th year.
What made you get into this line of work?
You know, somebody else asked me that question. I'm not sure. You know, my parents were divorced. They're great people. My dad remarried to a beautiful lady, the late Pat Stevens, and it's all good. They all get along fine, and we've made it past that era for many years. But my parents traveled in different paths, and Mom was an activist lady who spent a lot of time trying to get the world to hear her, and as a student, and later as a educator, and even later on as a alcohol and drug abuse prevention advocate. So she spent all her career paths with a lot of fire and a lot of energy, including today, where she's an Indian preference coordinator. And so I think she's 72, maybe 73 years old. I should know that. But my mother, I was raised by Marge, and she's a great teacher and a great mentor. And this interview would go on for days if I told you all of the great things she did. And at the same time, I spent a lot of time hearing about my father. My father worked in Washington, D.C., and did a lot of great things for people centered around economic development and tribal recognition and self-governance, all these things that tribes were advocating for so they could be stronger and have a better foundation in their communities. And so Dad was kind of the Washington, D.C. guy. Mom was more the grassroots activist. But I think when it's all done, no matter what their skills and characteristics, the bottom line is that my parents taught me work ethic, and that's why people look at me where I'm going and what I'm doing. And I was over this side of the country and this side of the country, and then another part the next, and surface home when I can. I just work hard, and I think that all the characteristics aside, I think my father has a business degree, my mother has a sociology or social work degree. I put them into school when they were probably in their 50s, and recruited them to school. But long before they ever had a college degree, they were teaching teachers. They were educating educators, and so they just, their parents kind of carved a path for me, and I might have helped them with their education, but in the classrooms that they went into, with the experience and the knowledge they had, they were some of the best teachers as students. And so I learned from them. I learned from my parents. I try to combine their skill and the knowledge that they've had. I'm nowhere near what they were or are, but I'm working on it. I'm just still trying to fill their shoes. But I think when it all comes down to it is working hard with a giant heart, and helping people is the skill that they have, a skill they've handed to me and to my brothers and sisters. And so, to that extent, I got a ways to go, but I think I'm on the right path of filling their shoes. But we work hard.
What are some of the hot topics going on right now in Indian gaming?
In Indian gaming, there's all kinds of things going on, and I think the real bottom line for Indian gaming is we end up being educators, getting people to understand who we are, and we're really trying to get America to understand why we're gaming, why we do gaming. Just one form of economic development and one arm of the tribe that is trying to build a better place for not for us just now, but for our future. And people don't understand why Indians game and why they can, and we try to get them to understand that Native America, Indian country have been involved in gaming and economic development since long before there was even a United States Constitution. So yeah, we have to wrap ourselves around the appropriate laws that govern this country now, but a lot of people really don't understand or appreciate that we are sovereign governments. So we have to teach them that and help them to appreciate that, where we come from. And the other thing they don't understand is, the things that we do in our industry. We hire people, we put people to work, we spend millions of dollars. We just got back from Phoenix, our trade show in downtown Phoenix, Arizona. I don't have the numbers yet. I'll hopefully have those within a couple of weeks. But I mean, we blocked out just about every hotel in downtown Phoenix. Folks were. It was good because we have some excellent facilities, gaming facilities that are within driving distance of downtown Phoenix. So we sent a lot of people out to those places and came close to selling those out. In some cases, I think we did. So, but the economic impact. People don't really understand when our industry, through direct jobs, about 300,000 jobs, and then indirect and offshoot employment and business, we're up, 600,000 jobs. And so we're doing great things in this industry. And, I don't know what the percentage of employment is, but I'd say it's about half and half of Native American community people we put to work and outside community people. And so I always just try to just give everybody the appreciation that, we're all in this together. We're doing a lot of great things. And in this economy now, it's kind of tough, but our people have been able to survive it and work our way through it. And, some have different tiers of battles. And just like America as a whole, this economy is working its way back, but it's been a challenge. But if you really look at it, Indian country has always been a challenge. And, I told more than once, America, welcome to our world. We've always had to do everything we can to try to create an economic opportunity for our people, our communities, and that's what my parents were about, and the people that motivated me. That's what they were about. My grandmother waited tables and cleaned houses and took care of families during the Depression to survive. And she went back into college in her 50s and 60s and got a degree, and she worked as a school teacher until her mid-90s. But every step of the way, she was always trying to figure out how to help people, how to motivate people, and how to stand with the community. She only has one son, but I'd say she probably has thousands of grandchildren because of her advocacy in the community. So when it's all done, it's about helping people, and it's about working hard.
In internet gaming, where does that fit into Indian country?
Well, what we want for internet gaming, no matter where it fits in this country, is to fit in Indian country the way it fits in America. And at this time, we're really not there yet, but we've really been negotiating in the dark for the most part, because internet has the potential to be a giant industry. But my own personal opinion is that I don't think it's going to save the world's economy, but I think it's something that could get a shot in the arm economically. But at this point, again, we don't have a bill to work with, and we continue to anticipate, analyze, and try to take a look at what is or may be out there. And from what we've seen so far, the bill has not taken a fair stance in working with tribes in terms of how would you say, respect for tribal sovereignty, in terms of taxation and regulation, and haven't looked at the history that Indian gaming has that truly reflects that we can regulate, and that the tribal government gaming is 100% taxed by the services that we provide to our communities. So we got a ways to go on internet, and I think that if once they figure out that that we're willing to work with anybody on this issue, but we're not willing to sacrifice any piece of tribal sovereignty, any pieces of our right as governments to engage in economic development. As soon as they understand that, I think they might have a chance to get the law going if tribes get behind it. We certainly would like to see it move forward, but only in terms of with 100% respect for tribal sovereignty and treat tribes as governments.
What would be your advice to tribes who are interested in internet gaming? Where should they start?
Well, I think you start from scratch. You analyze the industry, and I think they have free play. There's all kinds of technology out there. There's all kinds of things happening with internet, and I think we've said this from day one as well. We continue to fight a educational battle on this bill, helping people understand the true laws of the United States Constitution in terms of respect for tribal sovereignty. We've told all our tribes, we've worked with our tribes and with the tribes that are members of the organization that do everything you can to analyze this industry. Do whatever you want as individual sovereign governments to engage. We don't tell tribes what to do. Every government has their right to engage how they choose to engage. So we encourage them to appreciate the industry, to analyze the industry, to move forward as they see fit as tribal governments. At the same time, there has been, some folks out there in the mainstream world that say that we're that we're all over the place. Well, I think the only place that applies is literally, because Indian country is all over the place in terms of our communities, in terms of the states we live in. But the bottom line is we're sovereign governments with the right to engage, and if a government does one thing and another does it different, well, we try to communicate and stay in dialogue. If a state does one thing and this state does another, well, they're doing their thing, But us as sovereign governments, we have a right to do what's best for our communities and to engage in economic development the best way that each individual sovereign sees fit. So we're not really all over the place. Matter of fact, I think some of the people that's saying that are more in disunity than anybody else. We are unified. We have a several-point resolution that stands on the principles of tribal sovereignty, and that resolution has a companion resolution standing with the National Congress of American Indians. We have a internet gaming subcommittee of the National Indian Gaming Association that's probably the most active of any one of our committees and meets regularly, certainly over the last several years and very intensely over the last couple of years. We worked right into this last lame duck session and probably our busiest holiday season ever, because we want to be ready. We want to be ready for anything that comes down the pipeline that potentially could move this industry forward without our government. So we're ready, we're active, and I believe our tribes know the industry. I believe they understand the industry, and we'll continue to have our dialogue within what we call our Internet Gaming Subcommittee. We talked about that extensively in Phoenix last week, and I think the tribes are comfortable with where they're at on this. But we really need the United States government to analyze what they're going to do with this, and as they move forward, to appreciate tribal government gaming and appreciate tribal governments, because we have to provide for our citizens just as much as they do. So they just need to work with us. I think that would be appropriate.
You were talking earlier about issues with taxations and elders. Can you elaborate on that?
I think that what we're doing is we've just separated out our Internet Gaming Subcommittee and are working on taxation and economic development so that we could get a clear work path so they don't cross over and confuse or one gets too much priority. We'll try to balance that out. But right now, in a nutshell, it's just kind of ironic that, again, as I said previously, our gaming statistics or our gaming assets are 100% taxed because we provide for our community, and that's what we do. And so when you look at it, there has been a kind of an advance by the Internal Revenue Service to do audits in Indian country and try to review our programs and services for send 1099 or whatever they do. And now is a unique time because it's April 15th is around the corner. But I want to make it clear that April 15th, my wife and I, we both have a college degree. We both work hard, and every dime that Uncle Sam says he has coming, long as the tax man does his professional service and we work together, we figure that out. We pay him what we're supposed to pay him. He gets his, and that's the way it goes. We understand the law. But when it comes to tribal governments, our responsibility is to our members and to try to take care of the many which are take care of what end up to be a lot of shortfalls on behalf of the United States government's treaty obligation to tribes. We're providing that service to our members. Now the government has fallen short on those obligations which they are obligated to by law, by treaty, by the law of the land, and here we are. We're trying to fill those gaps, and then they want to tax us on top of that, and they want to try to tax those services to our elders and services to our community. That's just not right. Again, April 15th, we're all good, God-fearing, hard-working people, and we do just like any other citizen does when it comes time to pay the tax man. But the services that our tribes provide to their constituents that were supposed to be provided through treaty are not there. So we provide them. No way that the United States should be able to tax that under no circumstances. So it's kind of a unique battle, and it's kind of maybe it's unique or maybe it's crazy. I don't know, but it's unfortunate that we end up at this day and time with all the challenges we have in this world and all the good legal counsel we have, that we're going to have to get down in the trenches and try to educate America about that. So, but we're prepared to do so. We've established a committee on this level and expanded that responsibility. Again, we separated it out so that we can stay focused on the internet, but also stay focused on taxation, because Indian country is proud, and we pay our taxes in a timely manner, and we pay beyond our fair share of taxes. But at the same time, we have a right as governments, and we're going to stand by that right. So it's a lot of work, and it's unfortunate in this day and time that we're having this kind of fight. But I think really these folks, they're doing their job, but I don't think they understand their job. We understand our job, and I think that Indian country will be able to advocate that to the federal government so that they'll have a clearer understanding. But it'll be a fight.
What keeps you going? It seems like you're on the road almost every day of the year.
Well, I think what keeps me going is my being able to put a bear suit on for the tribal elders in Red Lake yesterday, when initially I thought it was crazy, but a good friend and a member in Red Lake thought it would be a good idea. So I played the bear in a skit yesterday, and it's really crazy because it's one of these things where I think some things are meant to be. The bear outfit, I zipped it up. It fit like a glove. It fit me perfect. So we keep, those are the rewards. And then we visit, we're here today in La Courterie. Beautiful, beautiful community here. I really think that my visits and my be able to sit with you right here in the news from Indian Country is really God's blessing to me, for me to be able to be a part of this. And so it's really my reward to be able to work in Indian Country. So I'm motivated by the people I work with and for, and I'm also motivated by family. My wife is patient. She supported me. I've been working in Washington, D.C. now for 12 years, full-time, beyond full-time. And long as I do it the way my wife appreciates it, she's good. And long as I don't, talk back and I'm a gentleman, my wife supports me 100%. So I'm on a timeline, which she says she completely supports. She knows that I won't be home till Friday, but she knows that I will be, because Friday is my deadline. My 7-year-old grandson, Ernie Stevens Jr, is receiving recognition by the Wisconsin Indian Education Association on Saturday, and my wife said, "That's when you need to be here." And so I think we're pretty excited about that. I have 11 grandchildren, and life it doesn't get any better than that to have my children finishing their education. My youngest is a grad student at Kansas University, and my oldest is a second-term councilman at Oneida. My other boy is a communications guy and likes to study films, does a lot of work with film production. My daughters are teachers and coaches and educators, and well, I'm really excited about where I am in life. And so when it comes down to it, I'll have the blessing of being married to Cheryl for 34 years, and we've been through a lot together, including coming up to LCO. In those days, in 30 years ago, just about 30 years ago, when we were in college here in Ladysmith, Wisconsin, just down the road, Oneida was a long ways from home. Now you just jump in the car and go. But you know, we shared our friendship with all these tribes, Lac du Flambeau, Lakota Ray, St. Croix. All these folks went over to Minnesota, to Red Lake and Cass Lake and every place in between. So, we're just motivated by life, to have a beautiful children, grandchildren, and a beautiful family. I really am blessed. I really have an important job, not an easy job, but if I could do it all over again, I'd probably try to be a little more fluid about my education and try to be a little more a better husband and more patient. But really, when it's all done, I think life is good, and life is good because the tribes trust me to work to represent them, and then my wife loves me. That's the bottom line.
And you have a nonprofit that's a part of the arm of the organization, I believe,
Yes.
that you donated some money for a girl from here, from LCO, Rita May, to help with her cancer treatments. But also you guys do a fundraiser. Can you share with us the fundraiser that you do in South Dakota every year?
Okay, well, let me start with Rita May. I was able to meet her for the first time today, and I was very, very excited about that, and got to talk to her. I gave her a book with some leaders that I've learned from, and she was very outgoing, and I was pretty impressed that the little baby, her little sister, was a little intimidated by me, but Rita May was listened and was she listened to everything I had to say. So I was excited about that, and when we started off our conference this year, I wore a pink bolo tie, and because I really think that Rita May is an example that we're winning the battle, and through prayers and hard work and medical attention. We can win these battles, but we've got to get after them right away. Too many of our brothers and sisters have gone on because they didn't go and fight it. So you got to fight it, and that's that's what warriors do. So I think she's a great warrior. I was really excited to meet her today. As far as the spirit of sovereignty goes, we kind of diversify, but a young man whose father passed away doing what I do. He was an auditor, so he traveled and he audited tribes. And the old days, tribes never had any money. So this guy's name was Francis, the late Francis Killer. He passed away a little bit too young to be going on, but a very, very fulfilled man, a great man, and spent his whole life helping tribes. So. It's kind of ironic. When I stumbled into the gaming commission today, I met the auditor, but
Oh yeah, Christy Corder, right?
yeah. So I just walk in. I love to walk in the communities, Indian country. So, but I think, this Francis Killer, he had a little boy with him all the time, and this little boy became my buddy because he always had the Air Jordans on and claimed he had a little game. So we found out last weekend. We went for a walk in Phoenix after the trade show was over, and we found out who's got game. And so I'll just say that he was younger than me, and I provided him with a good piece of education. So, but he's when his father went on, I adopted him, not legally, but from my heart as my son. So whenever he introduces me, he calls me Dad. And he is my son in every way. But let's see, 12 years ago. He came to me right around the holidays, and just a young fella still in college, and he asked me how I could he asked me if I could help him just find a few presents for some kids on Pine Ridge. And I said, you know what, Kevin, I'm going to do that, because that summer, my stepmother, who was a beautiful lady, her name was Patricia Stevens, passed away from cancer, and that's where she was enrolled. And Pat, what inspires me about Pat, and it's a little bit off the subject of spirit of sovereignty, but it really what got us going, because spirit of sovereignty is much bigger in a lot of ways. But in that particular situation, he asked me to help Pine Ridge. And Pat, even though she met my father in L.A. and lived in D.C. in Oneida, she is very proud of Oglala lady, and helped me through college, helped me through life. And so when he asked me to help, I was inspired by her. She'd only been gone a few months at a time. And so I said, I'll do that in Pat's memory. And so we went to work, and I don't remember the numbers, but maybe 50 grand we raised. And every year we've been able to pull together about that. But what we did is we spread it throughout every tribe in North and South Dakota, and then sometimes we could try to get some out to Montana, been on Crow, and then down in Nebraska, and Red Lake. We always have something for like Red Lake or Cass Lake or one of those tribes that have a need. So just whoever we can help, and we have to do it according to the law, and so we fund nonprofits or tribes, and then they can earmark, and all we do is we just earmark it for the poorest of the poor. The people are having it tough. And Kevin used to bring me pictures early on, and I said, you know what, if we can meet them, then I'd like to meet them, but I really don't want to, we don't need pictures. We just picture in our hearts, and so it's kind of neat, because we've had Rodney Grant as a friend of mine, a friend of my family's, but he's the guy who played in Dances with Wolves. Every year, just about every year. Last year he wasn't able to help, but just about every year he helps me, and we go and visit tribes. Now, we've got help from tribes throughout the whole country, but we concentrate a lot in Central and Southern California, and we go visit them in like Sequan and San Manuel and Viejos and Agua Caliente, all those tribes over there. If I try to do all the names, I'll forget somebody, but they've been able to take their resources, and it's to the point now, sometimes they don't fund us, but if they don't fund us, what they're usually doing is they'll take 100 grand and send it in truckloads themselves. So we're okay with that. Forest County Potawatomi is doing the same thing, or more recently, they just take, they'll send the money out, they'll send truckloads or whatever. And I'm good, we're good with that. You don't have to go through the spirit of sovereignty. What you have to do is help those tribes that need it most, and these tribes are doing that. So Rodney's helped me. Now we've had Lightfoot, and his name is Gary Davis, and he's now the president at the National Center for American Indian Enterprise Development. But he would come over, and he really motivated those kids. They really excited to meet him. And then probably the highlight, not taking anything from my very close friends in Lightfoot and Rodney Grant, but we took Hulk Hogan 2 years, and I don't remember the years, but we showed Hulk Hogan a great piece of culture that he really respected and appreciated and loved, but he didn't know. Like one example, we were going down the highway, and we would rent these SUVs because there was always so many of us. I mean, Hulk's a big dude like me, and so we're cruising down the road, and then we see these Indians, and then I would dispatch one of the SUVs to go get them and take them wherever they want to go. And Hulk said, he says, how do you say this? He says, "What are you doing, Ernie?" He said, "Where I'm from, you stop and pick somebody up, they might kill you, I said, well, no. I said, if we don't stop and pick people up on the reservation, we won't get around. This is our form of traditional transportation. We look out for one another. And he said, "Oh, that's awesome, Ernie." So, but he did, I call him Cherry. Cherry did 2 trips with us, And literally, and he was going through some tough times in his life when this was going on, and yet he said they try, he said they didn't want me to go today, but I promised these kids I was going to be here. And one of the most, well, there's all kinds of significant because Hulk Hogan is an amazing man, and I'm not a big, I'm a boxer. So I told Terry, I said, we're boxers, we're really hitting each other hard. I don't know what you guys are doing rolling around out there. And he always teased me. And but I said, I don't know much about wrestling until I met him. I might have watched the old, Crusher and all those guys when I was a kid, but I didn't really know how much they impact people. But these kids went crazy. They went crazy over Hulk Hogan. And the first time we came in there, all these kids were following him all over the place. But his handler said, "Hey, you do this. We're going here, we're going there, and we got to go. We got to get back to Miami." And so I did everything timely because I thought this was just like an amazing, amazing thing to have Hulk Hogan. And the kids were crazy. We had to get back in this room. So we got back in this room, and Terry looks at me. He says, "Well, how come I can't talk to those kids?" I said, "You can't." I said, "These guys have me on a certain path. I'm following the path. All you got to do is tell me and tell your guys. I'll do whatever you want." He said, "I want to meet these kids." I said, "Okay." I got about 700 pictures there, and I'll leave you one. I think I might have one in the car, but I got about 700 of these. I said, "I can set something up. You want to stay? You want to meet these kids? Then you tell me. All you got to do is tell me, but tell your guys because I'm doing what they tell me to do." So he said, "Okay." So he told me, and I set up a classroom. And the biggest problems were the parents. We could have got a lot more kids through, but the parents want to stop and talk with Hulk. And so finally, we stopped the parents. So no, only kids could come in, and we used up 700 autographs. In the end, he was signing coats, signing their hand, whatever, and he thanked me because they had to stay, they had to delay their flight, and we took them out after we got them through there. Literally, he may have signed 1,000 autographs in one afternoon in Rapid City, South Dakota. All the LNI tournament, which we run this in conjunction with, is a basketball, cheerleading, wrestling, all big event, and all the tribes have meetings there, and it's just a real good holiday time. And a lot of those kids don't come to the big city, but once a year, if they're because they live quite a remote area. So it's one of the highlights, obviously, of my career. But obviously, so I'm excited about that. We put Terry on a plane that night, and he thanked me. He said, "I really need this. Is really inspirational to me." And when we started out, we had a big grand entry, Indians all over in this big arena, and he taped it all. And then the next year, he wanted to go to the reservation this time. So we took him right to Wounded Knee, and we had a nice, powerful ceremony that he fully respected and appreciated. And one of the unique things is that when we had our ceremony, we had got all our toys and gifts and stuff and got everything ready, and then we had our ceremony, and then the historical part about that piece is we weren't gonna or we were going to the grand entry, but we were doing this first. But there's places, if you're from Pine Ridge, it's called Sharp's Corner. I never know it. It's a convenience store, And both times we pulled up to Sharp's Corner on the way in and on the way out. We just pulled up and get a drink, and us old guys gotta, use the restroom and get some soda or whatever. And both times it was deserted when we got there, but by the time one time he even told us, one guy wanted an autograph, says, "Well, can I use the restroom first?" But he signed a bunch of autographs on this Sharp's Corner, and these cars were coming. Some guys were pulling up. One guy just gave me his I don't know if it was a drumstick or some kind of one of his traditional items. Please give this to him, and I'm not going to get in line and bother him and just tell him we love him. And he gave me the name of his drum group, and it's just really he was really amazing that way. And then when we got to the edge of the reservation and we left Sharp's Corner, we cell phones started working, and Lynn Valbuena from San Manuel called, and they just had passed a motion to give us money to help us to get where we need to get. So all kinds of blessing in that. And I'll tell you, there's a lot of TV stuff that goes on with Terry, and But I tell you what, Hulk Hogan is the real deal. He is an amazing, amazing person. So that's what we do. And speaking of real deal, there was no pun intended, but this last conference we had Evander Holyfield, and I'm working on getting Evander to come out to Pine Ridge as 5-time world champion. He came and spent the whole conference with us at NIGA this year. So, and he does real deal barbecue. I don't know, Holyfield. I kept I'm a boxer, and for some reason, since I was a kid, I called him Holyfield. His handler said his name is Holyfield, but he's got the barbecue sauce, and he's trying to market that out to Indian country, to the casinos, and I'll tell you that another guy that's very humble, very kind. He stayed with us all week last week, and right from the beginning to the end. 5-time world champion, tip-top shape. Said he still could fight if he had to. That's the difference between me and him. My wife said, stay out of the boxing gym.
Do you guys have a website where people can donate for that organization?
Yeah, it's just www.indiangaming.org.
And that's where they can find the nonprofit. What was the name of the nonprofit again?
Our Spirit of Sovereignty Foundation goes to the Land Tenure Foundation out of Minneapolis. They're the ones that assist us, and they've done a great job with us. But it's kind of works through our DC office, but the nonprofit arm, as far as handling all the finances and getting it out to the community, we working with the Land Tenure, and they're not only do they help us administer but they help us raise the money. So they're another great partner in this thing, and that's what, if I could do that for a living, that's what I would do. Someday, if I could just retire and do that. It's really where it starts. It's kind of what I told you. My mom and dad, they just help people. They went to Los Angeles in the old days. That's where they were married, and that's where Dad and Pat were married as well. And Dad, Pat, Mom, they spent their whole life helping people. And when we had nothing, they would share a little bit of what they had, even if it was nothing. We just help people, and that's the bottom line.
And what message would you want to share with Indian country before we go here?
Work ethic, just work hard and stand close to your family. And whether it's work ethics or family ethics, they will guide you. And, I've had the blessing, I have the blessing when my brother and my brothers and my sister were born. We started a family in Los Angeles. My grandmother came and stayed with us, stayed by our side. She helped us when we needed it most. My grandmother's a person that, raised my father during the Depression, and I told you a little bit about her early on in this conversation, but she's 102 years old, and she knows exactly what she's doing, and unfortunately for her, she's had to move to the nursing home. But at 102 and a half, when she went there, that's not so bad, up until a recent health change at 102. Lived totally independently all her life, and a woman that's very firm, very strong, very loving, very powerful, and again, always trying to figure out how to help. My grandma, she's the one who always taught me when I spend a lot of time in restaurants, obviously because I travel, and she always taught me to make sure that you take care of those people because they work very hard, and that's how my grandmother got through. That's how she helped us in Los Angeles, and so she's a grassroots lady that worked for little and nothing in the old days, but retired a very successful school teacher, and now she's in the nursing home, but she's doing well. And again, tribal government gaming, we got a brand new nursing home coming up, so she's going to move into a new quarters real soon. So I could never pretend to say she's excited about that, but she'll make the best of it. She made the best of it when they hauled her off to the boarding school against her wishes, and she couldn't see her parents. She made the best of it during the Depression. She made the best of it when she went to Los Angeles, even though her husband didn't want her to go. And she'll make the best of this one. She's the best. She's probably one of the most powerful warriors that I've ever known in my whole life. And so, like Mom and Dad and many of the relatives and friends and family that have motivated and supported me, the tribal leaders from throughout this country, they would all agree with me that she's the number one fighter in my life, and I'm following her footsteps. Keep fighting.
Thank you for joining me. Kimberlie Acosta with Indian Country TV. Thank you.
Good. All right. The parents kind of carved a path for me, and I might have helped them with their education, but in the classrooms that they went into, with the experience and the knowledge they had, they were some of the best teachers as students. And so I learned from them. I learned from my parents. I try to combine their skill and the knowledge that they've had. I'm nowhere near what they were or are, but I'm working on it. I'm just still trying to fill their shoes. But I think when it all comes down to it is working hard with a giant heart and helping people is the skill that they have, a skill they've handed to me and to my brothers and sisters. And so, to that extent, I got a ways to go, but I think I'm on the right path of filling their shoes. But